Coming to you from She Shed Radio Studios in the heart of Dixie in Alabama. This is CFBBroadcast.com. We're here to review the Week 14 of the college football season. Last regular season of the college football season. It always produces a lot of rivalry football games and some games that will go down and live and be remembered for a long time. And I would say that being here in the SEC, I think it was being an Alabama fan, JB.
Tough week.
That was tough. Alabama's out. There's no need to decide if they're going to make the playoff or not. They go down to the Auburn Tigers 48-45 in heartbreaking fashion, miss a field goal, a game where they had lots of penalties.
I mean, what better way to end it than with a missed field goal? I mean, that's the way it is. That's the way. That's been one of the Achilles' heels for 2 years. I mean, lose to your biggest rival, chance to send the game into overtime, and no better way to end it than doinking it off of the
30-yard field goal. Yep. Missed it.
Nothing new for Alabama.
I think that final 5 minutes was a perfect replication of the whole season and how it went. I think you saw a team that was undisciplined, saw a team that prior to that couldn't get a stop, and you saw a team that missed in the special teams.
Yeah,
and
I mean, nothing unusual. I mean, I think we saw it coming, starting with the Clemson game, earlier this year in the national championship game. But, we as Alabama fans, you always have hope, it'll get better, but I think it all culminated. I mean, you give up that many points to that anemic offense.
They've not scored like that. They didn't really move the ball a whole lot, but they haven't scored like that really on any good team. But I don't think our defense played up to a good team caliber all year. I really don't.
No.
And I went into that game hoping we would come out, hoping Mac Jones would have a big game, and we would go in there and just blow Auburn off and Mac Jones was the least of our problems.
Oh, I thought I thought he played a good game for his first road game and true road game and at Auburn, and the pixie dust that flies around down there.
Man.
So. I thought he played. I mean, he played well enough that we should have won the game.
His team scored 45 points, and really, if you look at the Ruggs touchdown call back on what I called a bogus call, that holding call was absolutely horrible. That was points that came off the board. There was some crazy call playing, but I thought the offensive game plan was good from the start for the most part, and I thought Mac Jones played good. The one interception was horrible. The second interception was basically just a fluky play that
happens.
You only see
at
happen
Auburn.
at Auburn.
Of course, that happens.
And they are the luckiest team.
They are, and you gotta say, even you take away the 14 points their defense scored. Still, that anemic offense scored basically 31 points.
Couldn't get off the field.
That's really embarrassing. That
again.
I mean, that offense that's probably the worst offense Auburn has had in 10 years.
Good. They're not even average. But they did enough to win.
Our defense is I haven't seen as undisciplined defense like this since, I guess, maybe Saban's first year.
I told you that earlier this year, not on the air, but I told you this was probably our worst defense since 2000, his first year.
Jumping off sides all the time.
Lining up off sides. And I'm hoping that that's because of the youth. I'm hoping that that's because of the youth, and they will come back next year and make strides to do better. You know, they were dealt about a bad hand when they had Moses and McMillan got hurt. You were counting on those guys. We had to play true freshmen, and maybe they'll get better year two.
I don't know. You know,
we'll see.
I'm not one to. I've never really been one to think to say that officials determine the outcome of a game, and I'm not going to start now. But there was some awful penalties in that game, and most of them went against Alabama for whatever reason.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, yes, some of those were penalties.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, we get
there's nothing to do with the false starts. Those are penalties all day long. I thought that the penalty that they called on Diggs that gave Auburn a first down, that was a horrible call. I thought the call that the holding that they called that brought the touchdown back from Ruggs, I thought that was borderline at best. You know,
I don't know. You know that there was one rough in the passer call where I can't remember if Jennings or Barmore pushed their quarterback. I mean, that was nothing compared to what they were doing to Mac Jones on some of those tackles. And you know, I mean, it's part of the game, and you know, the referees do what they want to do. You know, and the debacle before halftime basically that gave Auburn a fourth timeout. You know, and I don't know all the rules on that thing, and I've been reading on it and all that. But to me, that just seems totally out of whack in the way that should have been handled. I don't know. I'm not an official. I don't know the rules.
As the rules are written, it was correct. But I think sometimes they overdo this officiating, this instant replay officiating. And in the spirit of the game, if you look at that, Auburn was out of timeouts and they get a first down, even if it's 1 second or whatever, 2 seconds, I don't care. They're going to spot that ball, and if they do it like they've been the whole game, and that's what they're supposed to do, the officials are supposed to keep they're not supposed to get in a bigger hurry just because the clock's running out. They're supposed to keep the same pace. Hey, if you're setting this pace, you set this pace. And if you'll watch the football games, how it is now, as soon as they get a first down, they don't wait for the chains to get set. They wind the clock. And if that happens, there's no way that Auburn even gets to the line of scrimmage to snap the ball. And it's like selective. And if you look at it, it was 50-50 if the guy was down, or even if he was, it was only 1 second, less than a second. There's no way that you reward Auburn with a timeout. I thought that was a joke. I thought that was a mockery of the game. That's not intended for how the game was supposed to be officiated, and you're going to look at little things like that, and you're going to basically give a team a timeout. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean,
absolutely.
And let them get set up.
That decision was made at the conference in Birmingham. That was not made there at the stadium. That decision was made in the conference, and I just think I think it was horrible. All that being said.
Well, and I think that they know it was because when they came back from the halftime, the rules official gave a 5-minute explanation. Felt like he had to give a 5-minute explanation of what it was. So
total BS.
You know, I'm not going to blame the referees for the outcome of the game.
All that being said,
there was some iffy calls, which always happens at Auburn. It never fails. Crazy things happen there. But the kicker still had to make the 53-yard field goal, and the kid made all of his long field goals.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, he hadn't made 4 out of 11 from over 45 yards all year, and he makes every one of them. So you got to give it to him.
He stepped. All that being said, all that about the officiating, I'll stand by it. All that being said, Alabama didn't do what they needed to do to win the game. I thought they were outcoached in a lot of areas. I thought that they had a lot of bad luck. But a very good team will overcome that. And I just think that Alabama is a little bit too young. You know, I went from hoping they would get to the playoffs, have a good showing, make the playoffs, to really just wanting to win the game and not really make the playoffs, because that team that I saw the last few weeks of the season could not stay on the field with Ohio State.
I don't think they
and I
could
don't
stay
think
on there
they
with
could
Clemson.
at LSU either. I thought at the end of the game LSU knew what Alabama was doing, and they just did it. They have elite quarterbacks, and we will see. But that was the Iron Bowl. That was a classic Iron Bowl. Congratulations to Auburn. They won the game. Crazy things happened. I got no problem admitting they were the better team that day.
They get the bragging rights. We just have to focus on next year and get it back.
That's how it goes. When you get beat, you get beat. And the way it is. And I didn't like a lot of the calls, but even all that wasn't what beat Alabama. What beat Alabama was not being able to get off the field.
Poor play.
Untimely penalties.
Poor defensive play.
At the wrong time. False start after false start. First and goal at the 2, passing the ball.
Yeah.
But anyway, I thought Najee Harris played a great game. I thought Waddell played a great game. I thought the quarterback, Mac Jones, played a good game. And basically that's the season for Alabama.
Yeah.
They've got a bowl game. It'll be interesting to see how many players. I hope they all play.
See how many sit or opt out of playing.
But Alabama's really not been in this situation in a long time where we play in a bowl game that really don't matter. Another rivalry game. Moving on from the Iron Bowl.
Yeah, let's get that one out of here. Forget that one.
Ohio State's every bit as good as we thought they were.
They beat the Harbaugh just cannot beat Ohio State.
That's not even a rivalry game anymore. To me, Ohio State looks like a solid team. That defensive end they got, Young, he's the best defensive player in college football, bar none. I would love for Alabama to have a guy like that because he's disruptive. Didn't have the greatest game the other day, but you could tell it really affected the way Michigan called the game, and it just looked like Michigan didn't have any confidence in the world to beat them.
No.
Minnesota, a lot of hullabaloo about Minnesota Golden Gophers. Wisconsin kind of took them to the woodshed. They will play Ohio State. Whatever happens in that game, Ohio State will be in the playoffs. I feel like LSU will be in the playoff as LSU and Georgia. I think LSU will destroy Georgia this week. The line on that game is 6, but I will be surprised. I think LSU really wants to win this SEC championship, and I don't see Georgia slowing them down, especially with the people they've got out. I don't think the running back's going to get to play.
Nah. Well,
he's questionable.
Yeah, had a bruised shoulder. So.
And we seen what happened a couple of years ago when the running back for Auburn, Martin, or what's his name? Kerryon Johnson, when he got injured in that game, he was basically ineffective, and that basically killed Auburn's chance at beating Georgia, opened the door for Alabama to get in the playoff as well. Then we go to the Egg Bowl.
That was a classic.
So if you're an Ole Miss fan and an Alabama fan, if you root for both of those teams, you had a pretty bad weekend.
Yeah, it was pretty tough. That was I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe what I saw. I really couldn't believe. I mean, that was. I mean, I know the emotions, but I mean, come on, that cost them the tie, at least a tie. You assume they'll make the extra point, or heck, they may have even went for 2. I don't know.
I think Ole Miss was going for 2.
But that was crazy. I mean,
man,
it was funny, but it
wasn't.
To me, funny. I thought it was funny, but I mean, I couldn't believe that kid did that, and I thought at that point.
Well, Metcalf had done that a couple years ago, and and I think he was emulating him, and basically it backed Ole Miss up, and the kicker missed the kick. And then the coach, the AD, and the player all issued a statement. They were hoping to keep that at bay, but then late last night we get word Matt Luke's out. Third coach in the SEC out, as you've got Chad Morris already at the door, and then you've got Odom at Missouri out, and now Ole Miss has fired Luke. So we'll talk about that a little bit later on. 3 coaches in the SEC, and we really only thought one of those. I was really surprised at the Odom. I wasn't surprised at the Luke, but I was a little surprised that Ole Miss did it.
At this time. I mean, it's right here before the early signing period.
Yeah.
But, I mean, obviously somebody wanted him out. I don't know, maybe the big money people said that was it. I mean, you know.
I think they didn't want Rich Rod, is what I think. I don't think Ole Miss wanted to run that offense that they were running with him. But I'll be honest, I thought Plumlee kid, I thought he did good all year. But I could see that going forward, it's going to be hard to win with that. And Ole Miss schedule next year is going to be tough. But we will see how that shakes out. One last rivalry game. We talk about LSU. Just basically, they took out the 7 overtime loss to Texas A&M in the first half. That was as bad a beatdown as there's been in the first half all year.
I mean, LSU. If you could ever say there was a perfect first half of a game, I mean they however they do the stats and the point and the ratings, that had to be a perfect first half. They could do nothing wrong. I mean, everything they did was.
It was good to see it.
If they can continue that kind of play, no, they're not going to get beat.
I would love to see that LSU Ohio State game in the Superdome. That's going to be something. We'll see. We'll see what happens.
Clemson will have something to say about it, though. Because Clemson is, I don't know, I know their schedule isn't
but they're getting better.
Good,
they're getting better.
But they're beating people, and they're beating them bad.
Yep.
So, but I'm not counting Clemson out yet, so, to make it to the final.
No, well, we'll see. That ought to be a good game between LSU and Clemson. We'll see. So the 2019 regular seasons are out. So now basically it's left. The bowl games will come out Sunday. We will start seeing who's going to be in the bowl game. I've seen basically it depends on who wins this week, where Alabama ends up. I've seen them anywhere from the Citrus Bowl to the Cotton Bowl to the Orange Bowl. So it'll be interesting to see where they are ranked in the polls tomorrow. If they are ranked behind Florida, then the best they can hope for is the Cotton Bowl. Because you got to imagine Georgia's going to – if Georgia loses –
they'll go to the Sugar Bowl.
They'll go to the Sugar Bowl. Then Florida would go to the Orange Bowl, and then Alabama would then need to be ahead of Penn State. If they're behind Penn State and Florida, then Alabama's going to the Citrus Bowl. So, and then they would play Minnesota. So
exciting game.
Yeah. So, and it'll be interesting to see which players choose to participate. Again, I hope they all do, but the way things are going these days, we will see. So the 4 teams I think is going to be in the playoffs. I think they're going to keep Ohio State 1 because I think they're going to protect them to where they don't have to play Clemson the first round. And I think they're going to make LSU play Clemson just because they want to protect Ohio State 1 and that they want 2 Southern teams to play each other. And then I think it's going to come down to between Utah and Oklahoma or maybe Baylor. I don't see Baylor beating Oklahoma, but they may. That's going to be an interesting decision, Oklahoma or Utah, I think Oklahoma gets the 9.
Yeah, I do too. I mean,
I think the name
Oklahoma
will carry the day.
has a better name, and they have, I guess you could say, a better following, or probably would bring more money, more fans, and
I think they would have a better resume.
Yeah.
Utah's not been a top 25 team all year. One they played, they lost. But they have been dominant in their games. So if they beat Oregon, they'll have a top 25 win. But we will see.
If it comes down to, if Oklahoma wins and Utah wins, I'm with you. I think Oklahoma gets the spot.
So wrapping it up here, here's what I want to do. 2019's regular season is over with. Congratulations to LSU and congratulations to Georgia as they've won their divisions. They will play each other in the championship game. Winner will go to the playoffs. I expect LSU to win handily.
What if Georgia wins?
They'll both be in. Both be in, and then they'll probably be seeded 3 and 4.
Yeah.
That's probably what they don't want, because then you got a chance at LSU and Georgia playing in the finals.
Yeah.
But I just don't see Georgia being able to beat them with the injuries that they have.
Not unless LSU just has an off game, which they haven't this whole year. They haven't.
Yeah.
They've played at the same level.
Yeah.
I mean, they haven't really peaked, and if they hadn't peaked and they're about to peak, then they might as well just give them the trophy, because, they've played basically at the same level all year long. If they can,
dominant.
You would think at some point they would have a off game, or
and I thought
things
it was
wouldn't
this
go
week,
right.
But it wasn't.
They've struggled. Not struggled, but I think the Arkansas game wasn't. It wasn't really. They didn't really blow Arkansas out the first half, so. Guess you could say maybe that in some of those first halves they didn't perform well, but if they're peaking right now, it's going to be tough to beat those guys.
Yeah, and I'll say this: a lot happens in 4 weeks without playing ball, and teams are a little bit different than they are at the regular season. When it ends, when they get this 4-week break before they play the bowl game, we will see. Burrow's going to be up for every award, and he will win the Heisman. I think we can agree on that. And it'll be interesting to see how he handles all that. But the way he's handled everything else, I have no doubt that he'll be ready to play, and LSU's going to be a tough out. And
who would have thought last year that Joe Burrow would have set the SEC single season record for touchdown passes in the regular season? What, he had 44?
Yeah, 4,400 yards. Also, it was unbelievable.
I would have never thought that.
And I'll be honest, I didn't really like him a whole lot when he first got here and he played last year. I thought but I've kind of as I watched him play, he showed me a lot how tough he was.
Yeah,
and my hat's off to him. Best player in the SEC this year by far, and congratulations to him on the awards that he will be receiving. So that brings 2019 into the wrap. I think we've talked about the 4 teams that we will be in. This is our 15th show. We started with week 0, going with the Florida-Miami game. When Florida won that game, we're carrying you all the way up to the SEC championship game. So the last thing that I want to do right here is review the teams. All right? Teams, did they meet expectations, exceed expectations, or not make expectations? I think we can say for sure the 3 coaches that were fired did not meet expectations. So those coaches are gone. It'll be interesting to see who they get, what coaches fill those shoes. I have no idea right now. But I'm going to ask you, Josh, the rest of the teams. We agree that those 3 teams did not meet expectation. Florida.
exceeded expectations.
I would agree. They exceeded expectations. 10-2, probably headed to the Orange Bowl, a New Year's Six Bowl, first one in many years. Same where Felipe Franks was transferring or going to the NFL draft. I didn't think they'd be that good. Georgia.
Met expectations.
I would agree with that. I would say they met expectations. They did not set the world on fire. The offense was away for a lot of the year.
They made the championship game. That was their goal.
But then they lost as a 25-point favorite to South Carolina at home.
It hadn't hurt them, though.
Kentucky?
I would say did not meet expectations.
Oh, come on, man. They lost everybody last year. And then they still, I think they went 7-5 this year?
Something like that, but.
No, I think they went 7-5. I think Kentucky exceeded expectations.
Well, last year they were 9-3.
Man, they lost their quarterback. They had to reinvent their whole offense. I thought they exceeded expectations. I thought they very much so. Missouri, we've already talked about them. They did not meet expectations. They got their coach fired. South Carolina
did not meet expectations. Way below expectations.
I'm surprised he kept a job.
Well, in the jury, it looks like he's keeping his job. He's already, according to Twitter, he's already let go of 3 coaches fired. So he's making a move, a preemptive move to ensure he keeps his job.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm befuddled with that. Did not meet it.
And Jake Bentley is in the transfer portal.
He's gone. I'm going to skip this one team, go to the last team in the East, Vanderbilt.
I think they met expectations. What kind of expectations does Vanderbilt have anyway?
Well, I agree, but I would say did not meet expectations just because, they win 2 games? They got to.
That's Vanderbilt.
Yeah.
I don't know that they have expectations.
I agree. And you look at the stands, I think it was 147 people at one of the games at the national anthem this year. That's pitiful. But anyway, going back to the last team in the East, talk about Tennessee.
They extremely exceeded expectations after the start they had. And,
I wouldn't go that far.
I think Jeremy Pruitt should actually be the SEC Coach of the Year, but Orgeron. Yeah, look at what this is the first time they've been bowl eligible in how many years?
Yeah, but he lost to Georgia State. I don't see.
He turned it around. Where they win 5 out of the last 6 games?
They did, but they lost to Georgia State and BYU at home.
That's all.
If he wins those games, he's 9-3. They're talking about them at the same level as Auburn.
So they exceeded expectations.
To me, all right, they exceeded it. Who did they beat in the second half? You talk about those wins. They beat Vanderbilt, Missouri, a team we said. 2 of those teams I said didn't meet expectations. They beat Kentucky. They beat UAB. They beat South Carolina.
Teams they didn't beat last year.
Maybe so, but
and they, like you said, they lost to Georgia State.
For a team that's got to exceed expectations, you've got to bring the thunder all the time. You can't be losing to freaking Georgia State.
Man, they just happy they making a bowl game.
They are, but you still can't lose to freaking Georgia State.
They going bowling, and Jeremy Pruitt is on the right track. They look like a football team the last few weeks.
I agree with that, but let him lose to Georgia State again next year and see what happens.
I don't think that's happening again.
They got a tougher schedule next year. They got Oklahoma. We'll save Alabama for last.
And Orgeron should if he gets the Coach of the Year trophy, he should immediately hand it off to the passing coordinator.
Yeah. Arkansas, we've discussed, did not meet expectations. Auburn.
In my opinion, they exceeded expectations.
I would say so, because I had them 8-4 at best, and they slipped up and won the game at Alabama. I'll say they exceeded expectations.
Now, their fans and people say They didn't meet expectations.
I would say they barely exceeded expectations, just over it, just one notch. A missed field goal exceeded expectations. LSU goes without saying. Did not exceeded expectations
to the top.
Mississippi State
about met what they normally turn out to be.
Yeah, but I'd say they didn't. I think they were ready to get rid of the coach. I think Ole Miss may end up being the one that looks like the winner of that Egg Bowl before this is over with. We talked about Ole Miss. They did not meet expectations. And Texas A&M, tough schedule and all, but the way it ended, I'd say they didn't either.
I expected them to be probably 9-3, 8-4.
Hey, I was the one singing their praises start of the year.
They had a tough schedule.
And watch us when we get here again next year. We'll be talking about how they're the favorite of the dark horse to win the SEC West. So that's it.
Did Alabama meet expectations?
No, they didn't.
What's the expectation here? Championship or bust?
Well, it is that, but I would just say the way that the defense never got the last 4 ranked teams Alabama's played
over 40 points.
Yeah. And if anybody says that's meeting expectations, all they do is watch first downs and touchdowns, and because that's
the most prolific offense Alabama's ever had, and
normally
we have the worst defense we've ever had,
and at least since 2007.
Yeah, it is what it is. We just got it.
They got to
find a way to get it better.
It'll be interesting to see the changes that are made and everything. But 2019 regular season, it's been fun.
Yeah.
Been fun. We've been here with you guys each and every week. We'll see what we do for having a bowl special. Maybe we will, maybe we won't. If not, we look forward to being back for the 2020 season. Maybe a little bit better how we plan things and do things. We'll just see. We're getting ready to close the book on it. But we would sincerely like to thank you guys for watching us, put up with us, going through the inaugural year of the CFB broadcast report here with She Shed Radio. A special thanks to Perry Madison and Kimberly Madison as being our editors and our producing it with the help of Pepper, as Pepper the dog has been in the here with us asleep, staying warm tonight as it's finally turned cold. But it's been a lot of fun. We've enjoyed bringing to you a little bit of talking of how we see things. And JB, thank you for all the late minutes.
Fun.
We've had a lot of work going on that we've had to work this around work and a lot of travel, but we tried to make it every week, and I hope you got a chuckle out of it, and we promise to get a little bit better next year, and it's been fun.
Maybe we get one more after the bowl games or after the championship game or whatever. We come up with something we want to do.
Try to do something, a little Facebook Live. We can do it live or whatever. We'll see.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about things with our editors and producers, Kimberly and Perry Madison, and see how it goes. But thank you guys much. This is CFB Broadcast signing out for the 2019 college football season. I'd like to say best of luck to the SEC and the college bowl games. Signing out from She Shed Radio Studios. We will see you guys later, and have a blessed and Merry Christmas holiday season as it's coming up. We probably won't see you before then, and we will see you later. And thank you much for listening, and goodbye.